to Horsefly Chronicles Radio with Julia and Philip Siracusa, sponsored by Carnation, airing live on the United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM in New Orleans. This show's entrance has been edited, produced, and directed by Gwen Clapper from Perfect Trust Productions, LLC. You can find us at perfecttrustproductions.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday night segment of Horsefly Chronicles Radio with myself, Julia Siracusa, and Phil Siracusa. We're broadcasting live from the International Public Radio and the United Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. This evening's show is fully sponsored by Carnation, so we want to thank them for their sponsorship. You'll have to do a few things in order to participate. Go over to our YouTube channel, UFO Paranormal Radio or International Public Radio. You can also go into all of the Facebook stations, UFO Paranormal Network, UFO Undercover with Joe Montaldo, News on the Flip Side, Twitch, SoundCloud, Poppy, and you can go over to our group on Facebook and get in there if you're not in there already. And if you have any questions for our guests, our amazing guests, please ask. So tonight, guys, we have a special guest. Please welcome fellow network radio host Lorilei Potvin. She is a psychic medium. She has her own show right before ours every Monday night at 5 p.m. To 7 p.m. CST and 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. EST. She is amazing, as you will probably already know. So we want to really thank her for coming on tonight, and welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me, you guys. And we got your intro in there. That was a little extra step, so I'm glad.
Thank you so much. So thanks for coming on tonight. We really appreciate it. And what have you been up to?
Oh, geez, what haven't I been up to? We were talking quickly in between my show and your show. And hi, Raymond. I saw you over in our show. So thank you for joining in on the Horsefly Chronicles. I was talking you up on our show tonight and telling them you were coming up behind us. So I'm glad that some people
are Raymond.
hanging in here. We've got, I think, a Baumgartner I see too. Greetings from Austria. Hey, welcome. So anyways, what have I been up to? Well, every spare moment, I'm launching a second business. It's with resin. So I'm doing like a spiritual line with like pendulums. There actually is some Ouija boards. There is runes. There's crystal charging plates with real crystals in them. And then anything else you could possibly think of or dream of, I can make because I have probably well over 200 molds. We had a little bit of activity here and there, as I was saying on my show just previously. I think once they know you, right, the paranormal, they never forget you. I don't you guys find that even in your own home still, or are things still pretty quiet?
I mean, we definitely have our moments.
Yeah.
So
I've got something here. I was saying this on the show previous, and what it was is my German Shepherd, she's in here, she tried to knock over my tripod the last time, God knows why, but she's been going crazy like for no reason, and it's like she's tracking something, like her nose is to the ground and she's going in this circle all over, and we have like a roundabout like from the living room, dining room, kitchen, and then the hallway. And she's going, and we're in a different house than our previously haunted house. And she kept going behind this one chair. And it was right by our sliding glass window. And she doesn't do it all the time. It just seems to happen randomly. And I thought, okay, that's it. I am taking a picture of this, because she'll go in there, she's moving the curtains, and then she'll stop and she'll look at me like, Mom, there's something here, Mom. So I took pictures. I don't know what this is. Like, you can see it. It's a little.
What's really, really crazy? So many people have been saying lately that their animals have been acting very strangely. What do you think about that? Like, what is your opinion on that?
You know what? I can just tell you, like my sons are both have abilities as well. And when we first moved into the house, we're in a townhouse, and my eldest son, when he was visiting the first time, he said, "Mom, you do realize you got a little black cat here, right?" So I don't know if it's a cat. And I'm going to answer your question. I don't know. Dell's been really looking into little people, and he's convinced that we have a little person, not human little person, but First Nations people, especially in North America, have a legend about little people. And we've had just little mischievous things, nothing bad happening, but just little things. Now, with the animals, that's the first thing I always ask people when I work with people in the paranormal. I ask them, first of all, do you have any pets or do you have any children, young children? And then I ask them, what are they doing? Now, why the increase? I don't know, but we've just come out of a period globally over the last almost 3 years, right? We've had a lot of lower vibrational energy in the way of emotions, and rightfully so, with fear and loss and sadness. There's separation. And we were talking about this on my show. I don't mean to keep bringing it up, but it kind of built into this. We were talking about this. Is that what's sort of manifesting maybe something little right now with the emotions? Because right, the everything's energy, and our thoughts, emotions, our words. I don't know, but the animals are picking up on something. I mean, there's a million different theories I have on this. If we could spend all night, I could talk about it, but
and it's not just our pets, it's the outside animals. I mean, we're having like birds coming, not
I agree.
fly into the window and just
It's like everything is off-centered a little bit.
Yeah, and on
I
our surveillance camera, we're constantly seeing all these cats, and like I've never seen that before. I mean, it's probably it could be the neighbor's cats, but it's just quite a bit of them lately.
I agree with you. And it's so fun now that you're saying, like I was talking about pets, but you are so right, both of you, because I've been noticing this. Like Dell, who's also on the network, he's on Thursday nights. I'll give him a quick plug with a delicious recipe. But we were out one night. Now, I don't know about you guys, because you guys live sort of in similar climate to what we do in Canada here, right? Because we're close to Minneapolis, Minnesota. And what I've been noticing, like I have never seen the Canada geese flying at like midnight in a formation. Like we're talking end of July, beginning of August. They never migrate at that time. We had the skunk that is like, it's acting like it's not afraid of people, coming up to people, not acting like it's got rabies, but acting strange. Like you said, the squirrels, like all kinds of things. So what's going on?
Friendly.
I agree.
More friendlier, right?
Well, I would say odd.
Odd behavior. That's not their usual.
But let's go back.
We've had those birds sitting on our deck. Not
right.
That
something
long
is off-centered.
Staring at us.
Something is off-centered with the whole magnetic poles. Something is definitely off-centered. 4 months ago, it wasn't getting dark out till very late. Now I know summer gets dark later. I get that, but it was not getting dark till like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
It was weird. And then the sky, a couple hours before, would be like this reddish tint and this purple tint in the sky, which I've never seen before. I'm 55 years old. No one's going to tell me anything different. You're not going to sell me on a bag of goods, because the sky has never looked the way it's looked in the last 6 months. It's odd now. Something's going on. Ever since this CERN thing has been opened up.
You're reading my mind, Philip. I was just going to say it.
No, I don't believe in coincidence. Ever since our government and other governments are playing around with something with this project, the sky was different. And a lot of people, wasn't just me, on all social media platforms, they were saying it. What's going on with the sky? Why isn't it getting dark out? You think it's you, right? And you're like, well, it's not getting dark out. Is it me? And then I'm reading other people's formats, whether it's TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and they're all saying similar things around the world. So, part of it is, you know what? I think we're in a matrix. Part of it is, I believe in the Mandela effect. I do. Sorry. I do, because I think that I remember things a certain way, and not because I believe in anybody else what they're saying, because I don't, but Fruit of the Loom. there was the cornucopia thing on the full balloon.
Yeah.
It's not there because it's saying it never existed.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this, and I'll send you guys this afterwards. Okay, speaking of TikTok, I have a video. Now, again, I understand with video editing and stuff that, yeah, some things are pretty good. It's almost imperceptible. But I don't understand why this person does this. They have this book. Okay, remember, we know the Berenstain versus the Berenstain Bears, right? He has got a video where he's holding the book. He walks into one room and it changes back to the way it used to be. He walks out and it changes. And this guy is like literally, could he have faked it? Possibly. I'll give him that. But like, he's literally asking, like, why is this happening? Like, what the heck is this? And I have actually been watching videos on this of things like the Mandela effect, like things like this, because and I'm not saying we're old, because we're not, but we remember things the way they used to be, and now they're different. Like, did we switch timelines? Like, what happened? I don't know.
Very, very strange. I mean, I have
It
no
is
words
strange,
for any of that.
and I'm a firm believer in, something's up, because all of us are remembering something some way, and then the other part of us, the other part of the world, is not remembering things the way we're remembering it. There's something's going on there.
And I think with the experiences that we've been through, like you guys with your situation, what we've been through, we've seen things that normally, had we never experienced it, we would have said, oh, that's just a bunch of BS, or no, that can't happen. We have seen things happen that should never have happened. They're not supposed to be real, right?
I think that we're so more open than other people, all of us, that we're sensing things that, the average Joe just is not catching on.
Well, we're in paranormal. We live in a haunted house.
Yeah.
Lorilei has her experiences.
Lorilei.
Lorilei, sorry.
That's okay. I always tell
believe
people, just call me Lore, Lor, because it's spelled like Lorelei and it's Lorilei. It's so hard to remember, so I don't blame anybody.
I think that part of it is it just possible that we slip dimensions and without even realizing it? And it's a belief in a lot of people that we think that we have to pass and cross over to go to another dimension, but there's other beliefs that we're always continuously going to other dimensions without even realizing it.
This is one of my favorite topics, believe it or not. We just never had a chance to talk about it. I love to talk about dimensions, timelines. And again, do I have all the answers? No, but you go by what people's experiences are. For example, I want to give a shout out. We got a whole bunch of different people in here. We've got, I think it's Deanne, Cherry, Susan, it looks like, or Dean's Cherry Susan. We got Kelly Hopkins. Hey, Kelly, thanks for joining us from before the show before. We got J.H. Baumgartner, but they added, yeah, it happened here in Europe too. So you go by what people are sharing and what their experiences are. And you're not crazy when other people are seeing this. And with timelines, I agree with you. I think we can switch timelines. And to me, it seems like it's the most plausible, explanation. Could it be something paranormal? Maybe. But I mean, like the video I mentioned a few minutes ago, could the person be faking it? We always have to have that in the back of our mind. But why would they put it out there? Like, they weren't trying to make a conspiracy theory video. They were literally like, what the heck is going on here? I don't understand this.
We're remembering things a certain way. And I was reading up on this Mandela effect. And quite frankly, there's a lot of truth to it, because there's things I remember that they say, no, it was never like that. And I'm not the only person.
Well, you said Fruit of the Loom. I remember that because we have boys. So you have boys. I have boys. I remember their underwear back. My boys are a little bit older, but there was, or like my ex-husband, he used to get Fruit of the Loom. I remember
what
that.
Was on it? What was on it?
The cornucopia and a bunch of different fruits coming out on the label.
Now, call me crazy. I'm in the store months ago, and I'm looking for Fruit of the Loom with that logo, with that little thing, before I even read into this Mandela effect. And I'm like, but I can't find it. It's not there. So it's not me, and it's not everybody else, because it did exist. And then it's telling me, being in the paranormal field, is it just possible that we're slipping dimensions without even realizing that things that, yes, they did exist, no longer exist, but not everyone is having the same effect.
Yeah.
Not everyone's having that effect.
I think the longer you've been around, I think the longer we've been around, and like I said, I'm not saying we're old, it's just that we've experienced things a different way. And I think our generation has had the most amount of change, if you
Oh
will.
yeah,
Like I
yeah.
remember from when I was a little kid, black and white TV, we probably didn't even have one or just got one when I was a baby. I was born in 65, to where we are now with technology. So we remember the things that we saw and what we did, and there's too many of us remembering how they used to be. So you're not making it up, it's not just yourself. And then there's people that don't remember it that way. So why do some people remember it and other people don't?
Is it just possible? I mean, I found it far-fetched, but is it possible we are in a matrix, and some sort of matrix where
Mm-hmm.
our thoughts create a reality,
I believe that.
and there's this what do you want to call it? Other intelligence, government secrets, whatever you want to call it, that they know things that we don't know because we're remembering things a certain way, but not everyone's having the effect of that. And then you look at the signs; the animals are acting odd. More odd than I've seen in a long time. And then I
Oh,
see
yeah.
it's not getting dark out 4 months ago up until 10 o'clock. The sky is these different colors, purple, red, as if something is being put into the atmosphere. I don't know what's going on with that. And I'm not the only one seeing it. People are seeing it on social media. Why is the sky this color? Okay. I've been around a long time. Sky doesn't turn all these weird colors. All of a sudden, we have like a multicolored sky sometimes. So again, it could be chemtrails. That could be, who knows what that is.
Or two moons. I've seen that. Have you guys seen that? Two moons or
People have seen the two
suns?
moons.
Yeah.
Now,
Or
Crazy.
what I wanted to add very quickly to that, though, think about this, right? Remote viewing, and we use that within the paranormal field. How are you able to go forward and backwards in time to be able to remote view? So if you can do that, right? I believe that, yes, our mind, our words, our thoughts, our emotions are some of the most powerful forms of energy. I think everything's energy, can't be created nor destroyed, but transferred from one place to another, right? So and the other thing I always talk about too is how powerful we are as human beings, that we've been taught that, that we're not. But I think there are so many things that we can do as human beings, and much more than we could possibly even think possible. So yeah, do we live in a matrix? Why does the law of attraction work? Right? We can manifest things. Why does it work? So what you're talking about makes perfect sense to me.
there's too many weird things happening lately in the last couple of years, and I'm really trying to rack my brain around it. And it's as if the veil has gotten so thin that these two worlds are colliding somehow, the spiritual, the physical, and then we have these time lapses. And then we have, look, people do put fake stuff out there, of course, but
yes,
but then you capture these things, they capture where someone doesn't belong in that time and era, and they're slipping through in and out of the screen. Now, where's
actually,
that
I'm going to
coming?
try and have somebody. You just reminded me. I got to get a hold of him. He claimed to be part of the time travel project back as a small child, and I need to get a hold of him because I'm going to have him on. And some people don't
Awesome.
believe him, but there's pictures of him, and he can tell you all about it. He's got quite the story with it. So Andrew Bashago.
Well, that's awesome. Look at the Philadelphia experiment with our government
I
way
agree.
back in the day. They're saying, well, it didn't exist. No, and then there's people saying, no, it did exist.
Yeah.
The ship went from one point to the other point, and they shifted in time. And it leads me to believe that we're somehow the puppets in the game.
That's what it seems like.
And we're
What
just
about the
trying to make
videos?
sense
Have you
out of
guys seen
everything.
these where there was one just recently, and I'm trying to remember where it was. Multiple people caught this. It's a plane in midair, just sitting there. You can hear the engine moving, and people are filming it. It had been like this for like 4 hours. It never moved.
I've seen
And
that. I've seen
yeah,
that.
so that's not the first time. I've seen that lots.
And that's amateur footage. I seen a lady filming the plane, amateur. I forgot what she was. It's amateur. She's not making believe. She's a regular person. The plane, she's like, the plane is not moving. And it wasn't moving.
Yeah.
And that's been caught multiple times by different people around the world.
Or like J.H. Baumgartner says, I have seen 2 moons. 2. Wow, you were right. I've seen lots of footage of this. So, like, again, we have to always keep in the back of our mind, there are people, for whether they got too much time on their hands or they like to create a bit of drama and sit back and enjoy the show. There are people that do that, but not everybody's like that. And there's too many people getting video and picture evidence of this kind of stuff. So what's going on? I agree.
I'll tell you what, I'm a firm believer that the government does know what's going on.
Oh,
And I'm a firm
absolutely.
believer that UFOs and aliens do exist. Other races do
Oh,
exist.
yeah.
People that are not from this earth. And look, they came forward in the last year with the footage from NASA and this, and we cannot explain it. So now here's my point. In logical sense, you can't explain it. You could send a man up to Mars and all this other stuff and these rovers, and we have all this technology, right? And we're going to be on Mars one day, they say, right? But you can't tell us what's in our solar system, what's hovering the Earth. You can't make out what it is. No, I call false on that. I call that you've always known.
I'm so excited. I'm sorry, I got to jump in here. I have a friend that used to be on my show quite a bit, Dan Willis. He was in the U.S. Navy. He had a very high security clearance for sending messages back to the Pentagon. He was an ABC newsman. He's done a whole bunch of different stuff. He lives off grid right now with his wife, okay? Teaches people how to do that. And he went before, it was at the New York Press Club, May 6, 2002. And I'm not a big fan. I'm sorry if there are people out there of Dr. Stephen Greer. I'm just not. But he arranged this, and he got high up military people as well as scientists and what have you. There was 21 of them underneath. They swore under oath. They brought the receipts, as the kids are saying this day. They brought it, and he had always talked about this on my show, but he'd never put it together in a video. He put a video together, 58 minutes, and you can see every single person that came forward. We're talking admirals in the military, things like this, talking about their experiences with extraterrestrials and UFOs. At that time, and they were all excited. They thought disclosure was going to happen. Apparently, all the major news sources were there. They were, between the collective of them, of the 21 or so, there was 57 different types of extraterrestrials. Okay. And they thought, hey, the world's going to find out finally. And at the end of the news broadcast, if it was even covered, it was kind of made a joke of, like, some people believe that extraterrestrials exist. He just put a video out. I will send it to you. Feel free to share it. It's called Why the Secret Space Program Will Always Remain Secret. And you can watch it yourself.
Wow.
It's these people testifying, and he tells you who's still alive, who's not, and what happened. You guys see what you think when you see it. It's with Dan Willis. I'll send it to you after the show.
Looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. And then you have to say to yourself, why is there so much cover up? It's as if, sometimes you question who you're walking with and amongst, and who is in charge of the governments.
He gets into the presidents, some of the presidents that were not allowed access. Some of the highest military at the Pentagon weren't allowed access to some of these files. It goes through this whole thing. It's a 58-minute presentation. And like I said, he had talked about it on my show quite a few times, but he'd never brought the video clips. You get to see the actual testimony of the people, including his, and he admits his was a small piece. It was something, I believe, they viewed off of the coast of, I want to say, Antarctica. If it wasn't Antarctica, it was the Arctic. And he was given something to send directly to the higher ups at the Pentagon, and he had a copy of it. He wasn't supposed to, but he did. And they all had copies. They had pictures. They were going to sign affidavits. They swore under oath, all of these people. And you see what you think after you watch it.
Did he bring up the moon and why it's been so long since we've been there?
I'm trying to remember.
Because that's another theory, that the moon, this a part of that moon.
Actually, I think he did. I think, if I'm not mistaken, somebody testified that what was on the side of the moon. I might get that mixed up, because Augie Nost, who's a friend of mine, really, I share these videos with people all the time. Him and his co-host Nori Love, they do Broadcast Team Alpha. They have made a movie, 3 documentaries, about 20 minutes long. what is located on the moon, what is located on Mars, strange things we're talking, and strange things on Earth. And they tell you where they got the evidence. Augie even gets to on the moon where longitude and latitude, the whole thing. Fascinating. Like we're seeing pyramids. The one that blew me away, I believe it was on Mars. There was an actual picture of a silhouette, looks like a human person, no helmet, nothing, like just traipsing along, walking along.
I've seen that, yeah. The pyramid and the skull. It looked like a skull of some kind of form of a human. It's fascinating. It's definitely fascinating stuff, and they're never going to come out forward and come clean with everything. It's up to people like yourself and us and people that were in the military that can say, hey, you know what? I could testify and tell you the truth, what is really going on. Because if we go back 10 years ago, the government lied and it says the Area 51, and I remember this, it was all over the news. It doesn't exist. There is no Area 51. It was all over. They said there's no Area 51 now. All of a sudden, there is an Area 51, which we know. They come clean, right? So it's as if they come clean every 10 years or something like that. I was just going to say that.
Within the next 10 years, they'll just come clean.
Yeah, they leak out a little
at a time.
Through generations.
Yep. A little at a time. Themselves look a little tiny bit better.
Well, I think you can find this video now that I think about it. I think Dan uploaded it to Rumble, and it's why the Secret Space program is still secret, and it's under Dan Willis. I believe it is. You should be able to find it, but I'm going to send you guys a link if you can share it wherever you like. I shared it with quite a few people. We've never talked about this kind of stuff, but it's so hard to separate this kind of stuff from the paranormal, because the paranormal really is kind of like unexplainable stuff, and we're investigating and trying to make the best sense of it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but it kind of coincides with these mysteries. Again, the sky, the Mandela effect. I remember something a certain way, and you're not going to tell me anything different, and I'm sticking to the fruit of the loom. I'm serious. I mean, it blows my mind that they're saying that it never existed like that, but it did. And all these other labels out there that say no, it didn't exist like that, and it did. So that means.
So where's the evidence that it did? I mean, why can't?
It's right up here.
But
the evidence is up here through the mind, right? We remember.
I think you have to dig too, and I always say we're going to be the last to know. So I just love these people, and again, it's not my job to judge, but we run into people that say, I have a secret source. They're telling me everything. No, they're not telling you everything, because if you know. Everybody knows. Everybody. We will be the last to know. It's true. Because Howie O'Dell says, see if you connect the paranormal activity with alien activity. And then he said, what is your thoughts? So what's your thoughts on that?
Go ahead.
I don't know.
I'll go first. I think you can't separate them in certain arenas, because I don't know about you guys, but I have run into enough people that it kind of seems like they get a lot of paranormal activity, and then they also have some weird, like missing time, or they've got memory, whether it's a dream or whatever it is, of being abducted. The owner of our network, Joe Montaldo, I know when we've done paranormal discussions, we've talked about that, and even he's mentioned that a lot of people seem to have paranormal experiences and intermingled with UFO. I have a missing time story. I literally knew the road. I'd been awake for about 6 days straight at my old house because the activity and what. I was just going to the store, and I knew my way around my city. I've lived here my whole life. I was 2 minutes away from home, and I was crossing the highway connection to get, I think it was going to Walmart. I blinked. An hour and a half later, I kid you not, my car was 40 miles away, opposite direction. My phone was ringing. It was Dell calling me, asking me where I was, because I was just going to the store for 5 minutes, and I had to say to him, I don't know. And he's going, what? What do you mean you don't know? Because he knew how tired I was. So he was worried I had gotten into an accident. I was even amazed I had cell service. I still to this day cannot explain where I was or how I ended up there. I have no idea. And I literally blinked. And it was an hour and a half later.
And that's a real scary thing. I mean, we've had something like
We've
that
had 3
happen
time
here.
lapses in our home in the last
There
12
you
years.
go.
It's very
3.
scary. Just
About an hour and a half has gone where it cannot be accounted for. So there is a correlation between the ghostly existence realm and the alien realm. There is definitely something there. I'm a firm believer in aliens. I've had my own experience with things that I cannot explain. I can tell you that, again, I don't need my governments or anybody around the world telling me what the truth is. I know the truth. And the truth is they do exist. And the truth is we're not alone.
I agree.
And I believe that, look, with their technology, if they didn't want us around, we wouldn't be here. They could have exterminated us a long time ago. So obviously we mean something.
Yeah, I agree.
Something. We're something to them.
Okay, in that movie I mentioned, there's some really great comments here. There is somebody that testifies that there was, I believe he was a soldier, but there were, I think he says 3 flying saucers. You'll have to see it. But anyways, unidentified flying objects over one of their bases. They were armed to the teeth, these soldiers, because they were terrified. They had some kind of nuclear weapon, assault weapons. And he testified that not only did they shut them down, they were inoperable, ruined. They had nothing. They had nothing to protect themselves. And his whole point was exactly kind of what you said. And I agree that if they wanted to do something, they could, and they didn't. But they shut it down with their technology. And not only did they shut it down, I think the way he testified, because I watched this a couple weekends ago, these are super, super expensive, high-tech things that kind of the world didn't even know about at that time. And they were inoperable. So there you go. Gives me hope when we hear all this stuff anyways about what's going on, because I don't know about you guys, but I've seen too much with people will see unidentified flying objects over top of like nuclear power plants, and then the plant shuts down. Have you guys seen that? Because that's happened a lot.
I've heard that as well.
And this guy's testifying under oath in this video that they had nothing, and they couldn't believe that these weapons were not only shut down like within a second, but completely inoperable, like they were unfixable.
That's a really scary thing.
Well, it's kind of a good thing though, because we're hearing.
Well, they're saving mankind in a way, which, quite frankly, what's going on in the world right now, I hope they.
That's where I was going with it. It gives me some
we're in
the
the scariest times of mankind right now, between us and another superpower. And I go to bed at night saying I'm waking up tomorrow, and I'm sure everybody's aware of what's going on, and it's bad. So alien friends, if you're listening, you're doing a great job on that end. Just shut all the nuclear stuff down.
Well, I think if we're not alone and we believe that, right? Okay, if we believe that, we need to realize that our actions of something to that magnitude wouldn't just be affecting us, it would be affecting everything around us. So you could see maybe why they might intervene if you believe in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's so much out there that there's all these mysteries. It's fascinating, and it's not people that are weird or crazy or they have issues. No, they don't. This is real. This is as real as it gets. In fact, what we're talking about is more real than what you see on Fox News, CNN, ABC, and every other news station around the world that pulls the wool over your eyes.
Sorry.
I know news reporters from back in the day. They told me
they lie.
Phil, it's scripted. We have to be careful what we said. We cannot just send anything out. We will be fired. Okay, so I'm not going to drop any names. So it tells me we're the truth seekers. And it's shows like this and other shows out there that let it out. Get that camera out in the night sky and get along with people that are researching this stuff, because they're going to give you the truth. We're not going to sugarcoat it. We're not going to say, oh, no, it is what it is, period. And then when the higher ups can't explain it, they're all full of it anyway. These things do exist, and there is that connection between ghost, demons. There's something there. There is definitely something there, because a lot of people that have paranormal activity claim to have had either abductions, Look at the movie The Fourth Kind and Fire in the Sky. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of movies out there. Yeah, there's fluff to them for the movie purpose, but there's always the baseline story of these abductions. And the baseline brings truth because you can feel it. So, and then when you see these things that you can't explain, well, you know.
What about the one that was here in Eastern PA? What was the year that we had?
2007. There was a UFO seen in the sky. So there's so many encounters. You just have to be observant to them. And the only people that are going to tell you the truth are people like that video that you're going to share, that if you send over to us, we'll share it. That's just going to tell you the truth. No one else is going to come forward. No higher up is going to come forward and say, my fellow Americans and citizens around the world, we have something to tell you. We've never been alone. You know what that would do to religion?
I was just going to say
people will go crazy. People wouldn't know what to believe, what to think. They think it would be a puppet in their own society. It would cause this mass chaos that the governments cannot control around the globe. So they go hush hush. They don't say anything, and it's up to those that believe and say it. And then, you know, the other people just kick the can down the road for generations and say, well, maybe there's something.
I kind of thought we were ready for it until over what we've been through, without saying too much, because we're on YouTube and everywhere else over the last almost 3+ years. And then I realized we are nowhere near ready for something like this. And I agree 100% with everything both of you have said. Where I have the problem, like I said just briefly a few minutes ago, is people that are out there without judgment, because I think they really do believe they're speaking to a special source. But you have to realize, when your own president, you guys are one of the superpowers in the world, when your own president isn't being allowed to access of these type of files, and hires up in your military, why do you think that some average Joe is going to have a special source that's going to give you information like this? It's not going to happen. So I agree. We have to go on what people are sharing, what they're sharing with their experiences and with their evidence. And again, yes, evidence can be faked. But, you know, when there's too many people telling the same story that have never talked and never met, you have to give some time and energy into hearing what they have to say. At least I believe we do.
I agree with you. It's validation.
Oh, yeah. I think the next couple of years within our lifespan is going to be very interesting. Everything, you know, I could feel it. Like a lot of people around the world can feel like, you know, something's in the works. Something is in the works. You can feel through the energy that something's going on here.
Okay, so we've got Keith Ottersberg. I wanted to add, he goes, yes, I think he's referring to what we were talking about. If disclosure happened, it would cause huge chaos. We've got Howie O'Dell agreeing with this. We've got J.H. Baumgartner had a good question. He goes, do you think they will shut the A weapons down? If some stupid guy, like, I won't put the name, begins with a P, would he use them? And would they stop it? What do you think? I know what I think, but I just sort of shared it. But what's your thoughts? Like, does that make sense? Like,
you know what I think? I think that here's what I think. Let's talk about the technology that these aliens have, right? That they could do things, you know, with these crafts going these speeds. So if they could do stuff like that, and time and distance doesn't seem to make a difference to them, you know, they transport through material things that we don't understand. If they can do that, then they can manipulate the consciousness of mankind. And the powers around the world, the superpowers around the world. So it's as if I was somebody bad, right? And and I wanted to annihilate another country. I believe that if they intervene, they have that technology to, through the conscience, change that thought pattern of that person. I believe that. And then people will say, well, how come, you know, look, there was Mussolini, there was Hitler, there was all these genocides throughout all the, going back thousands of years. I mean, wow, there's so much genocide and bloodshed throughout everything. Going back to Native Americans, somehow they don't want to intervene with mankind. And I guess that's one of the mysteries. They shut down the nuclear stuff, which is great. And I hope that continues going forward. But there's also something that we're missing, you know, and I guess we want all the answers of why don't they do the A, B, and C. I don't think they really care about A, B, and C because they're so far advanced they probably see number C before it even gets here into our consciousness of thinking of what we're going to do and plan of attack against anybody else, against rivals, for example. So,
Oh, I agree with
know,
Howie's comment here. So go ahead. You were going to say something else, and I'll.
no, I think that I think they, in a way, they do stop. Look, with all the nukes in the world between all the countries, there would be no Earth. You know that nothing would exist if
And
everything
if we're
went
not
well.
alone.
Nothing would exist between the radioactive fallout. There would be nothing left. No plant, nothing. Except for
Probably
spiders.
cockroaches and rats.
Spiders would still go on.
Cockroaches and rats.
Spiders would actually get bigger. But anyway, all joking aside, watching too many spider movies.
Yeah.
But anyway, there is a thing where I think they can alter the thought pattern of mankind, and maybe they do sometimes. Because they talk not through words, but through this telepathy, right? So if they do this, then they can control your thoughts as well.
I can definitely see that. Like Howie put here, and then Keith Ottersberg said, yes, the roaches. He agrees. He's laughing. And Howie said, so I'm even thinking, I've heard this theory before, that it is our future selves coming back to see what happened to us now to change the future. You know what? There's so many questions more than there is answers. But I always start with the fact that if we believe we're not alone, and I believe we're not alone. I really do. I think it would be, and I'm not judging, but what I'm saying is I think it would be egotistical to think that we are the only beings that exist in the universe, okay? And we've seen far too many things going on, flying in the skies and people's experiences and what. See, we have to realize too that if we do something to ourselves, like you said, Phil, there'd be nothing left except, like we said, probably spiders, roaches, and creepy crawlies. So that's going to affect other things that are around us, right? And if they have the technology, which I believe they do, and I believe that that's part of it as well. There was a comment earlier, I think it was Universal Law. I don't think they're really allowed to intervene, but I think that if it's going to affect the whole universe, that's when they might. Just a thought to me, because if it's not just going to do it to ourselves, but it's going to affect everything, I don't know, because like I said, I've seen too many incidences of nuclear power plants shutting down after seeing a UFO or what have you. So it's not just once or twice. Like when you look through the history and you look through, all of the information out there, it's happened quite a few times.
We question part of us about the belief of things that only we talk about, and because all the bigwigs don't share with us, right? But then we have to look at logic, and here's the logic. Who built the pyramids? What are you going to lie to me and tell me that tens of thousands of sleeves? Oh, really? If they were a quarter-inch off, they would be way off centered up on top. So it's virtually impossible. We cannot do it. And if we can, I like to see us do it today, because it can't be done. So that means we were more advanced.
I agree.
And Howie's right about that. We were more advanced at one point. Through generations and generations, we were there.
Yeah.
We already had the technology. Somehow, again, we went back to Stone Age and everything else. But you look at the pyramids and Giza, and you look at all this, and you look at the alignment with the stars. You see how these things are aligned.
You're reading my mind, Phil, because I was going to say that with Stonehenge and everything else, the way it's all aligned. Thank you.
So then you say to yourself, oh, well, they said it was built by tens of thousands of slaves and they raised the land. And nah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It doesn't work like that. What it works like, there was a lot more advanced people than we are today, far more advanced with technology. They said that there was somebody who, I don't remember, they said that there was a way to shift the poles of negative and positive between heavy objects, which means that you can reverse these boulders into taking the weight off of the boulder. We just don't have the technology, or it's not being shared with us. But the higher ups do have the technology. I'm going way back in the day. They said there was
what about
that
giants?
technology.
We are finding There is a story, I covered this about a month ago because people wanted to talk about giants on a show I did by myself, of I think it was during the Gulf War in Afghanistan, and the red-headed giant, it killed one of their soldiers, and they had the body. They testified about this. I've seen the interview. They blurred him out, and yet you keep hearing about this. Plus, we see the skeletons. Like, where did these come from? They're not made up. Like, I know
there
people.
was just a skeleton on the news that they found from like 1,000,000 years ago.
Wow.
Where are these massive, like, was that it? Like, we could talk, I love talking about this stuff. We could talk about it for years and hours, but it's fascinating because everybody runs into a little bit and piece of the puzzle, right? And I think that's how we learn. And then we talk about it. Does it kind of make sense? Like, what's your thoughts? And we're using logic to the best of our ability. And I don't think we're going crazy out here talking about way out stuff. Like, this is stuff we're all seeing. You were seeing it from the comments.
No, this is stuff that people are experiencing, and the giants is another one. And why so many cover-ups and so many things? It's as if you went to school and learned everything backwards.
Yes.
I mean, and I say to myself, why don't you teach us the real stuff? You know, teach us the real stuff. Yeah, you know, you're teaching us things and a system to get by, but you're not teaching us. Maybe they don't even know. Maybe
do
they
you
don't
use
even know.
90% of what you learned in school? Like, can you both of you tell me in your working lifetime that you haven't gone to a job and somebody has said, throw everything out that you learned at school, this is how it's done, right?
No.
Or I don't use 3/4 of what I learned, like, say, in high school, or yes, university was different, going to be a nurse, but even most of that stuff, like my electives, and that bears I don't use it, right?
You know, yeah, and
there should be schools for the stuff that we're talking about the knowledge of people and empowerment and teaching the realism of what we're experiencing within the spiritual, physical realms.
Well, so maybe we should open up a school.
That would help mankind. You know, it would help mankind because it would bring mankind more spiritual, more grounded towards respecting their fellow man and helping others forward instead of greed and all this and pain and all this other stuff. I think that if people are spiritually grounded, and I'm not talking about one or two religions, let's erase a religion. Let's just talk about the common knowledge of mankind and what we know and what we've experienced, you know. Negative entities do exist, and people may say, oh, come on, there's no such thing as a ghost or a demon. Come on.
Until you experience it yourself.
Well, I'll tell you straight out. I called a lot of people out way back years ago and said, oh, your house ain't haunted. I was like, you know, I wish my house wasn't haunted, but I'll tell you what, come down. I'll give you my address. And then you leave here, tell me those same words. Let's see.
They never do.
So they never do. So I'll tell you straight out, I can't explain everything, but negative entities do exist. Ghosts do exist. Death does not exist.
I agree.
Death does not exist. Death exists between the physical part of us, but not the spiritual part of us.
I love how you said that.
Death. In other countries, they celebrate death. You know that? Because they feel like the spirit's going to a higher plane of consciousness. They've made it to another level.
There was a great series, because I'm a real firm believer in palliative care. I'm writing a book about a lot of the incredible things as nurses. I'm writing 3 books. On my 3rd book, I'm collecting experiences, mostly from nurses, but also first responders, of the incredible, amazing, phenomenally unexplainable things that we see when people leave this earthly plane, their physical form. And I agree with you. I think we are eternal. And Earth is a school. I think it's one of the most difficult places to come because we come in with spiritual amnesia. We don't remember anything from previous lives. I believe that we come in these heavy, clumsy, dense, fragile bodies compared to what we are in energy form, the astral body, if you will. I mean, there's so many things we could talk about. We're going to run out of time here. I just love talking about this with the two. I don't think we've ever had a conversation like this.
When you're like so into this, it just goes by so fast. I mean, I'm not too familiar with a lot of this stuff, but I mean, it's just
look at deja vu.
To talk about.
You ever run into somebody and say, I know this person, but yet you never met that person, but you can swear you know them. Or you've been somewhere and you say,
I've never been here before, but I have. I know my way around.
And that's happened to me. And so that tells you something, right? It tells you that there's reincarnation,
Mm-hmm.
there's growth within the soul, and there's life lessons. Like you said, this is life school. I would agree, this is life school. These are the learning lessons that the soul has chosen to go through on this journey. And, that goes back to the Mandela effect. You know why? A lot of people say, well, no, that did not exist the way you're saying it did. And then some people say, no, it did exist. And then I look at life journeys and reincarnation and the way the soul sees things. And if God or a presence was to appear in the sky, half the people would say, I don't see anything through a consciousness. The other people would say, no, I see it. I see it. So it's through the journeys of life that some people have a third eye, a spiritual eye, and some people don't have that spiritual eye. They may have had it in a previous lifetime.
Or they didn't open it yet, too, because I think we all have the ability to do it, but through life experiences.
Not everybody is open to it. It's very true.
And they're not meant to, maybe in this lifetime. Maybe their lesson is in some other arena or other area. Because most of the people in the chat are going, yes, 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 we agree, we agree. So sounds like they really enjoyed this conversation. I know I did.
Everybody.
No, this is an awesome show, everyone. And, I hope one day that there's a movement started, and I mean that, around the world, where everybody gets together for the most part and demands that all the governments come clean on the technology that they're not telling us about. Now, I know we have these encounters, but I think they should come clean because I believe they do know what's going on. And the CERN thing and the sky, you can't tell me, oh, the sky's always been those colors. Sorry, but I'm not buying it. No matter what you say, I'm not going to buy it.
We're hearing from Austria tonight in the chat that they saw 2 moons. I wasn't able to highlight everything, but I think his last name was J.H. Baumgartner. Yeah, he said yes. He added that we've got people from all over the world that were putting bits and pieces about just what they're seeing. Now, this is just a small sampling. So imagine, and you're not crazy because there's too many people experiencing it.
Definitely.
You believe in yourself, and within yourself, you find the truth. And then you share that truth with mankind. That's what you do.
Because most of your mind.
That's true. Because most of the stuff that you see on television is falsified for their benefit, not for our benefit, not for the benefit of us, but for the benefit of them and their ratings and their showings. But the truth remains on these shows. Anyone who does paranormal shows, keep up the great work. You as well. Your show, you have a great show. We've been doing this for quite a few years. We bring the truth. We can't explain everything, but we know that we're not alone in the truth, and we're going to keep sharing the stories of us and people around the world that come forward with these claims, and by that we get wisdom, and wisdom creates the knowledge of what we know and what we see.
I agree. Couldn't have said it any better.
This has been a great show, and it was
a great topic.
It was a fast show. We definitely want to have you back on or come on your show as well and finish up this topic. And to all the listeners out there, we want to thank you.
Thanks for everybody.
I believe in yourself.
Everybody in the chat room too.
Yes.
I want to answer J.H. Baumgartner. I was talking, but I didn't say it tonight, but I have studied near-death experiences for 40 years, personally as well as professionally. I talk about what I believe. My belief is what happens when a very small minority have what it seems to be a hellish experience. I had someone on earlier tonight. So who knows, maybe that's something else we can discuss in the future. Maybe we'll have to make a long show and put ourselves together here and have a big show one night.
Yes, I definitely agree. This has been a great show, a lot of knowledge, and we want to thank you so much for our listeners and you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And everyone, have a safe, great night. And anywhere, do you want to plug in where people, even though everybody knows you, where they can find you and all that good stuff?
Sure. If you ever want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on facebook.com/The Say you want to book a reading. I do mentoring, get a show idea, guest idea. I got 2 groups on Facebook, Paranormal University for all things paranormal. Spiritual side is the Angel Rocker Tribe. And then my show Monday nights, right before the lovely Horsefly Chronicles, my friends Philip and Julia. I am on from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central, 6 to 8 Eastern. Next Monday is Canadian Thanksgiving. I don't know why we can't do Thanksgiving at the same time as you guys in the US, but I have a big guest. She's a good friend of mine, Heidi Hollis. She's one of the first people that talked about the Shadow Guy, Hatman, and she's coming on next Monday. So far, unless there's a big change in the schedule. Thank you for having me. I love talking about this.
Thank you for coming on tonight, Lorilei. We really appreciate it. This was a great show.
Well, thank you for having me.
I learned a lot. But yes, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. And special thank you to Carnation for fully sponsoring the show. We love them. So please join us next Monday night, the same time on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. And stay tuned for Trish Mel with the missing piece.
Everyone have a safe, great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.